love that. So with me, I have a very, very special guest, serial entrepreneur, motivational speaker, active CEO of License to Fail, Tomi Kaukinen. How you doing, bro?
Bien.
Muy bien. Oh, I
Muy
forgot
bien.
that you speak Spanish. ¿Cómo estás?
Un poquito crack.
Man, how has been your day so far? Enjoying the sun, yeah?
Yeah, I haven't been out actually, so it's disturbing because I can see the sun, and now I'm sitting here with a what are you, Bolivian guy inside chatting, you know.
And
No,
definitely
it's fine.
it would have been fun to do this talk outside. Imagine that for sure.
No worries, man. No, I mean, I've been I usually wake up around 7. I have like very strict routines because I don't have a kind of workplace to go to in that sense, and I'm working for myself. So it almost, well, I would say it requires you to have like extreme routines, because otherwise, you know, you're just gonna pan out and do a bunch of shit that you shouldn't do. So I try to, like, even if I don't have meetings or anything in the day, I wake up the same time. I do my writing routines in the morning, and, you know, so it's all about this, you know, what do they call it? Like leading yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Like
managing yourself, leading yourself.
Yeah, and it's fucking hard sometimes because when there is no one telling you what to do, man,
I completely agree with you, man, because for example, in the intro, I use this word like active CEO. I mentioned that active because you have a lot of things going on, you know, and it requires not only discipline, but a certain level of tenacity, I would say, to try to manage every single one. And as you say, you're alone right now, right? Other people have like, they have the dependence of, let's say, a teammate, a coworker, your spouse, whatever. And how do you manage all that? I know that you have your routines. Routines are very important, but aside from that, like, I guess the question here is like, where do you get that discipline to keep up with all the routines?
Well, honestly, I don't always. It's good to concede and understand that, because for me, my life changed quite drastically approximately a little bit more than 3 years ago. I had been running like startups and doing like careers and stuff, and then I mean burnt out real bad, and had to quit basically everything. So like I used to do you know, Ironman competitions, triathlons, and then I ran a startups, and before that I was working for like investment banks and doing finance stuff, and then all of a sudden, you know, life changed, and I was totally incapacitated to do anything that I wanted to do. So I went from a lifestyle that was fucking extreme to nothing, and that was quite a weird kind of situation, because once you're driven and you're used to having like a ton of stuff to do, and I was constantly traveling around the world and meeting with people and stuff, and all of a sudden, like, my body just like, no, done. And then I had to start eating, you know, antidepressants, and because my body was in such pains. So it was a weird fucking place to end up when I was like 30, 37, 38 years old, and all of a sudden my life just stopped. And I had to quit training, I had to quit the company, and just sit at home because I couldn't work. So after that, you know, I started building up this speaking career and talking about burnout, especially with men, because men, we used to like shut the fuck up
it's a taboo, man.
Yeah, we just fucking swallow that shit. And and I made the choice back then that, okay, I'm actually gonna, talk about it. It felt like a huge loss first. I was like, damn, I'm a loser and all that. But then I felt huge relief, like, finally, because the year that I've been suffering from burnout, I kept working, and I went to do another Ironman, ended up in a hospital with heart problems, and so after 1 year, I just like publicly announced that I'm fucked up, and I was expecting people to kind of mock me, but instead everybody was like, damn, that's pretty strong statement to make, to confess. And I was like, okay, interesting. So
it's kind of like you found out at that point that there were other people in the same situation. You were not the only one.
Yes, and that's a weird thing, because the startup community where I spent a lot of years, it's very male dominated, for a reason, because men are in general like risk takers in on average more than women, and then if it's not a statement of any value, it's just a fact.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And so, which means that nobody, well, two things. A lot of the CEOs that are founders, they have ADHD, or they are, extremely driven, which also has, the flip side of then ending up in depression and all this stuff. So I would actually say that a lot of people that thrive in the startups are actually quite dysfunctional as humans. And I think that applies to almost all kind of businesses and sectors where there are like high rewards, where there are power, because a certain type of people will tend to, want to go there. And predominantly, usually men value, status and power more than women.
So, that is so true. That is true, yeah. And also like compared to like men and women, also many men think that status and value is what women want in one way or another, right?
Yeah, so it's partially true.
Yeah, it's partially true. But that
not
is
all
also
women,
like,
of course, and not all men,
of course, but like in terms of how we'd say like popular culture.
Yeah,
that would be the case, and that at least in many cultures, let's say Latin American culture, American culture, that is quite common scenario. And unfortunately, like you're saying, when you have those things, it creates such a pressure that at some point you break down. I mean, we're human, right? Like we're not built to sustain all that amount of stress or physical pain or all that. But
it is
like at some point, like you're saying, us as men, we don't want to give into that. We even say, no, we're good, and we just like try to like bury it and continue, move on, and it's very, and that's very, very well deep in me, because I come from a very conservative culture, the Latino culture, and there you are raised that to the standard of almost perfect. You have to be the good boy or the good guy. You have to have good grades. You have to be successful. You have to have a job by that time. You're like 20 something. If you don't have a job by your 30, you're already a failure. You have to live up to those standards, and you live by those standards until today.
Yeah.
And that is crazy. And that happened to me. I mean, I came to Finland 2006. And then I left to Barcelona. I was fortunate enough to get a really, really good job. I always been good with my words. So I got an opportunity to become a junior broker in the oil industry. And that was before the recession, man. So imagine that. So I did the training. I did the FSA exam and all that. Like I passed, and it was from there on. It was just like such an amazing journey. Oh my God, money wise, everything wise, I was stable. I was independent, and I was 23 years old. So by the standards of what I was raised, I thought I made it, right? And I was so proud of myself. I was like, and I was also raised into trying to win the acceptance and respect of my father all my life, you know. And then one of the first things are like, Dad, look at me, I'm making it and everything. And they only would look at the success money wise, right? As a 23-year-old handling 10,000 euros, a single man and everything without no guidance is a dangerous game. You know, it is. If you don't have you're too young to handle that kind of money. Like that money, like that kind of money gives you a lot of responsibilities that you don't even know what the responsibilities are at that age. And then you're driven by the media and by your friends. And what is it that you do? Like as a guy, me back in the day, like all these parties, girls, fashion, drugs, whatever, all that. Recession came, everything went to hell. And I felt like a failure because that forced me to go back to my home country, live with my dad again. And my dad was pointing out the failure day by day. Fast forward all that, okay? Because there's a lot of details in between. But like fast forward, I become a married man. Like I'm already here in Finland. And as you know, for a foreigner, especially who does not speak the language, it's very challenging to find work in Finland. And that was the biggest thing that I was fighting for 5 years. I never found work. But then again, I was completely ignorant in the process of how to apply. And also I was completely, how do you say, not against, but I just didn't want to adapt to Finland. I was like, it's me, Latino, it's me. I don't need Finnish. That was my mentality. Why? Because I still had that big ego when I was that kid winning all the big money and all that, you know, and that made me see Finland in such a negative way to the point that I told my, well, let's get out of here, you know. So after 5 years, we moved to Latin America by my choice. We went to the Caribbean, right? And like I told you, I think the first or second time we spoke, living in the Caribbean is very different than being the tourist in the Caribbean. Living there, everything was like different and definitely challenging. And with my background, I thought I was going to get like the highest position and I will be so successful achieving what was the goal set for me by my parents. Right. And I got it. I got good jobs. I was working at Amazon at some point and everything. And I was like amazing. I was earning a good salary. But then the injustice of the social system and the labor laws and all that and the anarchy of the society and hierarchy of the ladder in the corporation world was very, very strong. It was very hard for you to move up the ladder if you did not have the right context, despite of what was your education or what was your experience, even if you were successful. If you did not have the right context, that you would not just move on in your professional career. And that really affected me mentally. You know, I always loved sales, but at some point I just didn't want to go to work. And I went to work because I had a family to take care of. I had that pressure that, damn, I made them move to Latin America. And also, the stupidest thing, I had the pressure to uphold myself and the family at the same level of the high society that was around me. Because if you're less than that, you're looked upon bad. And the thing that really, really changed my life was when I got the opportunity to apply for a position at Microsoft. I was just recently laid off at the time. I got a sales agent entry level position just to continue the money flowing of the family. And boom, through LinkedIn, a recruiter from Microsoft told me, hey, I love your profile. Are you interested in applying for a regional sales manager in Costa Rica? I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. And I applied, and I move on to the first round, and I move on to the second round, and the fourth, and the third and the fourth. There were 4 rounds, right? I had a polygraph test done. The what's it called?
I know.
Yeah, but
Lie
also
detector.
like the P test, the drug testing test. I had that done. They called me, and that was like very funny. That was like we started. If they called me, I was like, okay, we're calling you to tell you that if you get the position, you're going to be entitled to this and this and this and this salary, shares. They were paying a percentage of my kids' education. They were paying the bill of my cell phone. They were paying, like, giving me some money for Uber drives, health insurance for the whole family. It was, as a Latino brother, it was a dream. It was a dream. But they told me, wait, you haven't gotten the job yet. But this is what you're going to get if you do get the job. I was like, okay, that's a little bit mean. And like, you were teasing me. But okay. Forward that. They call me and hey, you got the job. And they tell me like this: rest assured that this time you got the job. And I was like, I went all out in terms of excitement. I was like, oh my God, I finally made it. Still living up to the standards that I was raised. Yeah, considering that, what I was raised. I finally made it. I called my family and everything. And I even told my wife, finally, I feel that I belong, that I'm part of the family, like the family from my dad's side. I told her that, and she was like, "Why?" But anyway, we were like crying, hugging each other, and everything. And then we had to sign. I signed papers. They sent me papers to sign. And 6 days before the starting of my new employment, they sent me an email, and they told me, "We apologize, but we will not proceed with your employment, with your hiring." And I lost it. And I was like, "How? What?" I just didn't know what was happening. It could caught me completely off guard. And I called Microsoft. I sent emails and everything. And what happened is I didn't have the resident permit card, just the physical card. That was like the reason why they didn't proceed with my hiring. But we're talking about that legally I was allowed to work in Costa Rica. I was paying taxes. I presented those proofs, those tax payments. I presented payment slips of my past employments. I presented a document that immigration gave me saying that I'm allowed to work legally in the country. But because I didn't have the physical card, they didn't proceed with my employment.
Dang.
And that was downfall for me. That was the time that I got insanely depressed to the point of suicidal thoughts. I just felt like a failure, and I just didn't know I will get back up again. It was just because I felt I got so high, right? So high. And then from that height, I just like dropped. And I remember calling my uncle, and my uncle just told me, "Man, I'm not gonna tell you, hey, poor you. Like, I'm just like, go get another job." Man, and in hindsight, okay, yes, that's true. But mentally, where I was at that time, that was the last thing I wanted to hear, right? And obviously I got my wife's support, but because I was in a negative and sad moment, I just thought that my wife was giving me all the support because she's my wife, like, because it's kind of like she just cares about me. But like the rest of the world sees me as failure. Man, and fast forward, I came back to Finland. And here recently I learned that you can have a license to fail.
Cheers.
Here is where I learned that you can get back up no matter what age you are, what background you are. But it's so beautiful here because they give you that opportunity. They give you a tool. Like speaking to you, for example. this opportunity of me with the background that I come from, speaking to someone like yourself, is rare in our culture. We have to either pay for this or wait a long time in the corporate world to get this opportunity. And I might be talking in a subjective point of view, but like a lot of what I'm saying is true.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, and Finland is in one way. I mean, the good thing is that you can basically, I would say, you could probably meet almost anyone from whichever strata of society within a month. I mean, probably you can get meetings with the CEOs of the stock exchange listed companies. It is quite easy to meet people here. That's true. And I've been working in the Spanish market, and I remember, I mean, Spain is already almost 10 times as big in population than Finland. And I remember when we were doing some business in Madrid, and I asked for introductions, because that's what you do. You like, you're here, you're like, oh, you know this guy? Hey, can you like connect me and I can have a meeting with him? And in Finland, people usually just like, yeah, sure. And then they send intro. But in Spain, it was like immediately different. I met with some media guy, and he knew someone I wanted to meet. So I was like, hey, oh, you have a mutual friend. Could you introduce me to him? And he's like, yeah, that would be 3,000 euros. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, it's if you want this intro, you have to pay me. It's like, phew. So I mean, it's immediately totally different stuff. So then I realized that Finland is like really not a good kind of. It's not the average country, man. It's unique.
Definitely it's not. It is unique. So, it's its own world, man. I have to.
Yeah. So the big world is not working like Finland.
But it's working.
It's working differently.
Well, yeah.
Like in Spain and Spanish-speaking countries, you know, it's fucking dollars, dineros.
About that, yeah, it's all about that. It's unfortunate. It's all about that. You know, because like here also, like, it humbled me down in so many ways. It humbled me down, and it made me like be more open-minded to so many things. Despite that, I feel that Finland is a still somewhat conservative society.
Really?
You know.
Oh my God.
In certain ways. I mean, there's no point of comparison to the Latin culture, because there's that. But
Spain. Yeah, exactly.
Spain, yeah. You know, it's a similar cultures, you know, because there it's unfortunately, like you said, it's about the money, and that money, like, money gives you power. That's how it is, you know.
Yeah. But what I like about the Latin culture, and when I talk about the Latin culture, I'm basically talking, you know, I would say like Southern Europe, Italy, Spain, maybe France a little bit, but then also Latin America, South America, Central America, even Mexico, I would say, even which is North America. But the family and the social part of the culture is wonderful. The Nordic mindset is extremely individualistic, and I honestly fucking hate that, because I spent a lot of time in Madrid and Spain, and you know, when I walked around in the evenings on the streets, you know, when there were families who were out eating, the kids were playing, and you know, really strong bonds with families, and you don't have that here, not even close. Like, everybody's living alone, they're eating alone. It's like, it's not good for your mental health. I mean, I think, you know, everybody talks about the nutrition and, you know, eating right and all that stuff, but then, you know, if you go down to statistics and you start looking at longevity and, you know, and these stuff, you know, it seems on, I mean, don't quote me on this, but when you start looking at it, I mean, countries with really strong social bonds, they tend to live long, despite, like, for example, the Spanish and the French, you know, they drink red wine and they eat this white bread, and you know, they eat the churros and all this fucking shit, but still they live like to 85 years old. And so we're missing the big picture when we're talking about, you know, well-being and stuff. I hate that we're missing the social stuff, like how important family and these kind of strong ties are.
But here's an aspect that is interesting. I agree with you 100%. I do agree that here the Nordic mentality, maybe Finland, I cannot speak for Sweden or Norway, but Finland, yeah, is very individualistic. There's family values are not as strong as in other places. But the thing is, man, because in Latin America is such a materialistic society, most of your time is spent in the office. And very, very, very little time you spend with your family.
Really?
So yes. So having that mentality of, okay, I need to have nice things, you know, to live in that and that. Okay, I need to work my ass off. And that is happening today. It's not all values happen. It is from the past, present, and I'm pretty sure it's going to continue. You know, it's a very archaic point of way of thinking, but that's how they operate. You know, you don't get to spend time with your family. I lived it myself when I was in Central America, and I lived it myself when I was in Bolivia. You know, I remember there were days that I will be in the office from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And on top of that, you're not compensated the extra hours. You're compensated, you're in a really, really good company, and you have to move up so many obstacles to get there, you know? But obviously, from all culture, definitely family values is something that is very, very strong in us. But I think that everything in balance is perfect. Well, there's no such thing as perfect, but everything is balanced, could be healthy. Everything is balanced. It's okay. Like, for example, in Latin America, it could be that it's too much of the family, and here that is too much of my own. I think somewhere in the middle. What do I mean by that? That sometimes you cannot move on because of your family. Sometimes the family is so traditional, and we're talking about 70% to 80% of the time. It's so traditional that you live in this comfort zone all your life. And as soon as you step out of that comfort zone, you find yourself in distress and you don't know what the hell you're going to do, and you get lost. So you move back to your comfort zone. So what's the thing? What I'm trying to what's my point here? That if you live in that comfort zone all your life, you will never meet progress.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And you know, when it comes to that kind of stuff, such as, you know, develop as humans, I mean, it's pretty cynical approach, but honestly, majority of people are quite content with just living a, you know, normal life without any greater aspirations, and I think that's fine. There is nothing to do there, and
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and yeah. Honestly, I've been suspecting for quite a long time, and I think it's safe to say in some way that people who actually accept and live those kind of lives are feeling better. I would say, yeah.
I am one of them, 100%. I am one of them, you know.
Because you know, the feeling of constant discontent, it pushes you forward, but it's not good up here, man. It's and there's, I don't know if there's even stuff you can do about it, because if you're a restless person and you're kind of a type A personality, you know, with drive and all this stuff, you're probably gonna, you know, even despite building huge companies, making millions, you're probably, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, you're gonna probably fucking die miserable, man.
I completely agree, man. I completely agree, because that is something that Finland has taught me, to be honest. Like, that is something that Finland has taught me, because like today, I don't you know, I'm a brand new entrepreneur, you know, fighting to get JockPharm out there. I don't live in richness. I live in comfortness. And there's a big difference, and definitely in the comfortness that I live today, I have never been as happy. You know, I have like I said, I could, like, back in Latin America, I had a good job, good salary, we had material, was we had everything. Was I have now? I was tired. The little time that I had at home, I wanted to sleep. Here, I can enjoy those little things, man. Like, if all of a sudden my boy tells me, "Hey, man, I want to go to a park. Let's go to a park, baby boy. I have the energy. You know, let's go."
Yeah.
And also that happiness has helped me in so many ways. But the most important way for me is that it has allowed me to be present in the family of in the life of my family. You know, especially my boys. And soon, by the way, going to have a new baby girl.
Oh, fantastic. The second?
Third.
Oh, damn, you're busy, man. I'm still fucking, you know, trying to get my first.
Hey, man, this Corona got me a little bit bored, man. Like, I had to make up for some time.
Yeah, it's one of those Corona babies. True.
Yeah. But what, I mean, like, tell me of something personal. Like, how's your love life, considering that you have all this? Do you have time for a love life?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of ironic. Like, I have a lot of spare time, a lot of free time. So since I do these concentrated work routines, I do something what is called deep work. So I do like deep uninterrupted work for 3 to 4 hours a day, and that's it. So when you do this, it's extremely cognitively demanding, because, you know, I shut out everything and then I work for like 3 hours just focusing on one single thing. So I have a lot of spare time. So yeah, but it's not easy with the whole dating stuff, you know, because first of all, the Corona, people were really cautious, you know, and then the bars were closed. So where are you going to meet, you know, and these stuff. So it's been quite challenging, but now it's opening up. Summer is here, and, you know, it's party time. So it's gonna.
So like, what's happening? Are you on the hunt, or whatever comes, it comes?
I'm keeping my options open.
Open. Okay. Usually when people say I'm keeping my options open is, yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, I mean,
not as hard. Not as hard.
I mean, women are probably, well, if not the best thing in life.
I have to admit, I have to agree with you 100%. I think they're even stronger than us, you know, in so many ways. We just, like, are stronger physically wise. They're more mature than us.
Yeah.
It's just like, women is like the greatest thing of this world. It's such a beautiful creature, man.
I mean, fucking,
you know. Shout out to all women, to all the world.
Yes.
We love you. You're beautiful. You're strong.
Yeah.
Keep at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I mean, I'm not even sure women always realize how much men, not like in general, adore them, and how much they just make us speechless, and we're just like,
yes, I don't think they really comprehend that either, man. You know, I tell them, including my wife, you guys have the power to control us.
They do.
Yes.
And it's funny that some, of course, but some women understand this, but like almost everything men do in general is in some way related to impressing women.
Yeah. Some women might say, no, that's not true, but I agree with you, Tommy. I agree with you, man. You know,
yeah, because
and many times women is a motivation for us as well.
Totally. I mean, I tell this to people always, like, to my female friends. I'm like, you do understand that when you're a small kid, you're like 6-7 years old, you understand very quickly the dynamics of female to male relations, and you go to first grade and you immediately see like, who do the girls go for? It's like, okay, they go for, well, first of all, older guys. That's the first thing you learn, because you know that you don't have a shot. And that was one of the tragedies of being like a teen or going in preschool, because you know that you did not have a chance on girls your age. Like, that's a very horrible realization, especially when you're like in 8th or 9th grade and the girls start looking at the guys with cars, and you're like, fuck. So that's kind of the first tragedy. And you start understanding like guys who make girls laugh.
Yeah.
That's very important. You know, so you're okay, humor is super important. So you have to start developing humor. And so so all of this kind of young age goes to figuring out like, what do women want? And all of like first to 9th grade is just a project of figuring out how to get girls, right?
Completely, man. You know, it's just, but that's a big question. What do women want? You know, it takes a very, I think it takes a strong woman to know what she wants, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, there's a very interesting book on evolutionary kind of science on this, written by a woman actually from Yale. It's called Survival of the Prettiest. Mm-hmm. It's really, really interesting. She actually deals with subjects of like what men want and what women want according to statistics and, you know, evolutionary biology and stuff. And it's super interesting. But it's fairly obvious to a lot of men that the world works this way. For example, you know, for men, female looks are more important than male looks are for women. There are other issues at play in that dynamic. So for men, for example, you know, young age and looks rank very, very high in men's, you know, preferences. And for women, it's actually precisely the opposite, which is why, you know, the average age difference between men and women, I mean, vary. I think in the Nordics, I think it's like 4 years. Male are
really,
yeah. In Sweden, I think it's 4 years at least. So, and then if you look at statistics from the United States, it's like the first marriage is 4-year difference. I think the second one was 8, and the third one was 12. So it just increases by marriage, you know. So, and for women, like in general, this is also like cross-cultural. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like male status actually plays a part here in sexual selection, and that's a fact. And I think a lot of guys like understand this dynamics. So we have different preferences, but yeah, it's a very interesting book.
No doubt about it. Everybody has different preferences depending not only obviously the likes, but depending also on how you were brought up, you know, how close you were to your parents and so forth. That plays a big game, you know. But if you think about it, going back to the scenario when we were back in 8th or 9th grade, pretty much what's taking the lead there is instinct, like primal instinct, like hormones and this and that. So the number one thing that both mainly males are looking for is that physical attraction.
Yeah.
Right. And then there is the pack thing, you know. Obviously the alpha of the pack stands out a lot more, whether that's the funniest one, the most good looking one, the one who has a car and the other ones don't, whatever, you know. So that's why like a lot of people say, or a lot of guys like, why this beautiful girl is with this asshole? I don't get it. I don't get it. You know, it's that alpha effect.
It is. And but also we have to recognize that these are kind of the like extremes in a way, because I mean, usually like the hot girl in school was with the car guys, and people where you were like, how can she be with this guy? And you have this classical scenario from American movies where the prom queen and prom king, you know, are the, like, it's the jock from the school team and
the cheerleader,
yeah, exactly. And it's like, but I think the majority still tend to go in the middle and make compromises and stuff. But it's a fact that, you know, the absolutely top beautiful women tend to attract, you know, the top men. And as a man, you know, I mean, unfortunately, you know, if you have a lot of money, your looks are not going to be important.
Yeah, well, money symbolizes power, also symbolizes security. A lot of women are looking for that, and many, unfortunately, are willing to settle for that security.
Yeah, I know. But I think most people still, if you take away the extremes, act fairly normally, I would say, you know, which is nice.
I would, yeah. But going back to the extremes, maybe that has been my life of full extremes. I don't know. But definitely those scenarios were a lot more common in parts of the world that I was brought up. That, well, there's not that many, just Central America, South, and United States. Yeah. Those scenarios were a lot more common, you know, like that alpha effect and all that. And then as you grow older, at least in myself, as I grow older, and I hope I have matured, is that you start to narrow it down and like finding out more what is it exactly that you want in a partner, right? Because as a teenager, I remembered it was like, man, she got to look hot and that's it. If she looks hot, the rest I'm good.
Yes, and that carries on like into the 20s probably. Like and the fact is, like, beautiful women will always get the attention of men in general. And that's just that's something that actually in that book that I read, The Survival of the Prettiest, she talks about this phenomenon called lookism, which is kind of it's the phenomenon where men, we just like feel good by watching beautiful women, and she calls it lookism. And she goes through that and kind of explains, as I understand, fairly correctly, and it's a good observation, that men actually, like, we just look at it, but there's nothing else. It's just like we just look at it, and then like 2 seconds later, we don't even remember how that person looks or what clothes they were wearing, like nothing. We just like, beautiful woman, and then we just get stuck, and then we just continue our life, and she's gone.
Yes, it is. That's like the primal instinct of us, like as male. I don't know. I would say
it is. It's funny, you're walking with your friends, you know, talking on the street, and then there's be like a beautiful woman coming, and you both just like quiet, and then you're like, oh damn, she's hot, and then you keep going, and then you just keep talking as usual.
Man, and imagine with Latinos, we're more expressive. We're not that silent. Oh, damn, she's like, we're like, oh man, did you see that? Oh, like we make this big mini party because we just saw a beautiful woman. You know, it's just it's crazy because also as teenagers, sometimes we get guided by the peer pressure. You know, because sometimes we can meet that girl that is very nice, very into she's your friend, but not as pretty. But you're considering to be with her, you know, like go a couple of days, see what happens, but you do not move forward because you know your friends are gonna make fun of you. And again, this could be like an extreme here, but then in Latin America, that plays a big game probably as well. You know?
Might be some sense to that. But the funny thing is that I read some research on this as well, and because I think the dynamics of relationships are very interesting. And there was a study also about this, you know, alpha males and stuff, and it said that even though women kind of initially like these alpha guys, they tend to still marry and get kids with not the beta, but, you know, not the worst alphas. because the worst alphas are like cheating. They are, well, they're not the most reliable partners. So they make this trade-off with between the alpha and the not so alpha guy, maybe, and go for the one because it's a safer alternative in terms of long-term relationships. It's very interesting, all these stuffs, and yeah.
That is so that is like a very common scenario in the hip hop world. I mention hip hop because that's something I really, really love, the music, the culture, everything about it. But unfortunately, this happens a lot. The first thing that came to mind as you were telling this experience was this celebrity called Nick Cannon. He's the host of this
yeah,
show
I know.
Out. And then, yeah, he was married to Mariah Carey and all that. This guy has 7 kids with 4 different baby mamas. And they are the 4. It's not that like he is in a relationship with all of them. He's very open about his promiscuity, his non-monogamous ways. Yeah, that one. Thank you. So he's very open, like, yeah, I love you, but like, I'm not gonna be in a relationship with you. And the girls accept that. And why is like what you were mentioning? They look for that security, that long-term something. And in this sense, I would say that security, that financial security for herself and that baby, right? But like I said, going back, it requires a very strong and mature, not only female, but male, to not only know what they want, but to openly talk about what they want. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard thing for me now. It's like, I'm very clear on, I've always been in like long relationships, and I think.
I'm sorry to hear that, bro.
No, it's not. I mean,
you gotta learn, right? You learn from them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been single for a while and stuff, but the thing is this, like, we're glamorizing the single life, like, yeah, freedom and blah blah. But I don't know that many people who actually really thrive being single for long amounts of time. It fucking sucks, man. Relationships beat single life like 100 to 0. And we always crave what we don't have. And once we're in a relationship, we're like, fuck, I wish I could do this and this. But then when you go to sleep alone and come home from a bar alone or whatever, you're like, what the fuck is this? This fucking is boring, So we're always torn between these two kind of scenarios. But like, I'm 41 now, and I've understood that, okay, I mean, relationships are that's the thing, man. In the 20s, it was fun. But once you pass 30, like living like a fucking kid, I'm not sure it's that nice. And I sound like a fucking grandpa, I know.
No. I agree. I agree with you. I think everyone should be able to live their life at the right time. Meaning, if you're a teen, be a teen. If you're in your 20s, do shit that you do in your 20s. As you grow older and as you move on, as you move on in life, more responsibility comes in there, and then you gotta be responsible for that.
Yeah.
Like I don't like today, for example, teens, especially, well, not only today, always teens wanted to be older. Always, it's a fact. When I was teen, I wanted to be older. This is that. But I feel that today, teens, they don't have those consequences of behaving like an old person. Well, not an old person, but an older than them, right? And consequences are good, I would say. I mean, not punishment per se. No, I'm not saying punishment, but consequence. You need to know what is going to happen if you commit this action. And if you do this and it's bad, you need to know that it's going to be a consequence afterwards. But if you do something bad and everybody, he's a teen, that is the most common thing I have heard lately. She's a teen. Oh, she's a teen. She's going through shit. No, you can't like give them a pass. And as a teen, I remember as a teen, I thought I could run the whole world.
Yeah.
You know, and if you give me those type of passes, they're like, oh, of course I am right.
I mean, would be my mentality. Yes. And if I look at what I done when I was a teen and what kind of thinking I had, I'm like, I mean, this sounds fucking brutal, but I'm like, increase fucking voting age. Don't listen to teens because they have no fucking clue about how the world operates. It's extremely black and white logic. There are no nuances at all. Yeah, sure, we can listen to them, but and they might have something to say as well. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like the unnuanced thinking is dangerous, and there is a charm in youth that they think they're right, but as also as when you age, you get more cautious with being extreme. You're like, well, maybe it's not like this, maybe it's more complex than this, and the world isn't that simple as I thought, and understand that it's complicated.
But I would say that depends a lot on your culture and your parents, definitely, because I could say that many men don't, or many actually never grow out of that teen phase.
Yeah. And that's when we end up with like Stalin and Lenin and these kind of people. No, I don't know, but yeah, it's the one good thing with the system. Like I started to realize not that long ago, I'm very late on this maturity maybe, but I started to realize why the political system is so slow. And the reason is exactly this. We don't want to have rapid changes in society. So we have built these systems that make it extremely hard to make larger changes in society. So we have bureaucracy and stuff. So the ship should be turned very slowly, because the people who set up the system in for example, the Western democracies, liberal democracies, they understood that we cannot change things in a whim by some youthful, ideas. So they set up a system that was slow. It's like, we need to make decisions that take a long time to implement. And sometimes it feels very frustrating, like, what the fuck, this is so slow. But then you have to remember that there is a reason why we do it slowly, because we don't want to shift society too much, too rapidly, because we know the consequences when we start doing that. And that's probably usually not good consequences.
That's very delicate in its whole. Such a delicate way. It's just presenting something new always brings a little bit of controversy.
Yeah, and
always a pushback.
Yeah, so that's the idea of conservatism. Basically, is that contra, being some revolutionary, is that the idea between conservatism is kind of like, we know how it is right now, but if we change something, we do something unknown. So it's better that we try to stay close to what we already know works than to experiment with new ideas. And that's kind of a conservatist approach to society. Yeah. And I think most people, become conservative with age.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's just life in the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah.
That's just part of life, But like I was saying, the comfort zones, right? I feel, for example, I could be completely wrong. There completely are other factors on what I'm about to say, but I would say at least top 5 reasons why my country has never evolved is because of the conservative ways and conservative thinking, especially conservative thinking. Yeah, definitely that plays a big part. Every time in Bolivia there's something new introduced, unfortunately, that those conservative-minded people, which is like 90% of the population, they all rise up and they take it.
Yeah. So that's one example of conservatism being a hindrance to to development, and that's equally bad, probably. Maybe not equally bad, but it's not good. So
not good at all. Yeah.
That's, as you said, it's a delicate kind of balancing, and then, well, I don't know. I think, like, if you take Finland as a democracy and stuff, so Finland is very, 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 very good country to live in, and I'm not sure if Finland needs any like rapid, huge societal changes anymore. Like, what could that even be? Like
exactly.
So it's like, let's try to stay fairly close to where we are now, because, you know, we're the happiest country on earth. We basically don't have that much homelessness and all that stuff. So like, yeah, we can try to work on the stuff we have now. But I have to say, as a consequence of this extreme well-being and comfort, I actually oppose. I think comfortable life and society makes humans fucking miserable.
And lazy.
Yeah, we become fucking disillusioned. We don't know what the fuck to do. We're bored, and we get depressed, and we're like, what's the fucking point? And when everything is just fucking smooth sailing, humans become self-destructive. And it can be on a macro or a micro level. If everything is super good in our lives, a lot of people would just fucking try to destroy that just to feel something. And it's the same with societies. I mean, the Roman Empire was around for like 1,000 years. They were doing very well and stuff, and they just fucking collapsed. We don't understand how big of a society the Roman Empire was. It was huge. It had a huge bureaucratic structure. It was like, it took almost 1,000 years before we even figured out like how the fuck did they build these things and how did they do these. Because when the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantium fell, all these Greek kind of papers went into Florence, and these papers, they were rediscovered, which is called like Renaissance. So when that empire collapsed, 1,000 years before we ended up at the same level of where we were before. So it's like, it's insane how destructive the human nature is in the end. And I see tendencies of this, you know, we see this polarization. We see sometimes when you live in Finland, you get the impression, especially if you look at social media, that we're living in fucking hell on earth. And you're like, what? Like, I don't recognize this picture. Like, maybe all you people who are saying that this is fucking hell should maybe travel a bit. Like, maybe you should go to some other countries and see what it's like when you're scared of being fucking shot on the streets, or, you know, going to a ghetto and fucking robbed and murdered. So it's like, because I've been traveling quite a lot, and I was in Nigeria in 2018, and Nigeria is like a very, very divided country. Almost everything is in the capital of Lagos. And I went to this small city helping startups and working as a volunteer a bit there. And a couple of things struck me because I went there as a part of my rehabilitation, basically from depression. And I went there, and out of those 170 million people living in Nigeria, like half don't have electricity, some people that don't have water and stuff. And these startups were like super happy, super positive, and they were just looking ahead like for a greater future. And then I came from Finland, which is basically ranked the like happiest country in the world, eating antidepressants. And I'm like, this is really, really ironic that I am coming from here depressed to you. You don't have anything, and you're the ones who are happy, and I'm not. And it was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense unless you look at it from a perspective that we need struggles, man.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's just like, all in all, yes, we do. I cannot emphasize a lot. Like, when an individual, when a human being is broken down in whatever way, that person has a little bit of power to get back up, it comes back up strong.
Yeah.
You know, struggles help you. Like you were saying, like for example, here, the scale of living is very high. There's no more to look at. Like, but if you go like place Nigeria, other places, there's always something to look at. That is a motivation.
Yes.
You know, because we're that's.
Totally agree. And I spoke to one Nigerian friend living here in Finland, and we talked about this. And he also said, like, it's amazing how irritated the Finnish people, and they're constantly whining about like all sorts of small things. And he says, like, it seems that they don't even feel well. And then he said, like, it's because they're missing this kind of hope for a better future, because the better future is now. It's here.
It's now.
Yeah.
It's now.
And so hope is one of the most important drivers, hope of a better tomorrow. And if you don't have a hope for the better tomorrow, like, what could be better here? Yeah, it's small things, like very, very small things. It's not the huge things. And then you talk to my Nigerian friend, he's like, we need to build up our society. We're thinking about like a glorious future, and that drives us, and we're very happy to be part of building something positive. It's like the Western Europe and the States in like the after post-war time, like 50s, 60s, when people were building up societies, they were happy, you know, we were seeing something fantastic. And now we kind of, seems like we reach kind of the end of a station in a way. Of course, there are improvements to be done, but still we're like, well, it's like most things are fucking great.
Yeah.
And now we get dissatisfied. We're like, fucking, I hate this, and we're getting depressed. And so I think
but when there's no vision to the future, definitely that's like a big door for depression. And that's why, well, maybe that's not why, but definitely that is a big factor why there's a big percentage of depressed population here in Finland. You know, because like for example, in my case, everything that Finland has to offer for me is a goddamn paradise. You know, because we are like, as a Latino, we are also raised to believe that the perfect world is United States, right? And once you get to United States, no matter if you're cleaning floors, you made it. That's so far from reality.
Yeah.
Myself, like, I don't know if you got an opportunity. I'm assuming you didn't to read the article that Helsinki Sanomat read about me, but it says there a little bit about I was a part of that street life. So I definitely also know that the struggle that you go through in the street to survive, to literally survive. And now me having that background, coming to a country where everything's civilized and everything's worked, at the beginning, I was like, wait, no. But now matured and grown and everything, I have accepted all this beautiful and amazing things that this government and country has to offer.
Yeah.
Yes, the language is difficult, but hey, man, you live in, me as a foreigner, and I tell this to all the foreigners, make a fucking effort to learn the country that you live in, man. Make a fucking effort to adapt to their culture. That doesn't mean that you have to lose your culture, but make an effort to adapt to it. I guarantee you, your life will be a lot better, man. Latinos tend to get to know, to be with Latinos. Try to meet a Finnish guy, man, like get to know them, because before, when I came here, it was okay with the Latinos, they all had the negative mentality. Therefore, I had the negative mentality. But I have to say, like, before I came here, everybody told me, when you meet a Finn, he or she is going to be very cold. But once you get to know them, that person is going to be a friend for life. And I can happily say this, Tomi, today, that is true. All the things that I have met today here, man, as friends, beautiful people. And I hope you're one of them.
Yeah, I'm an immigrant from Sweden, so we're both.
Yeah,
immigrants.
that is true, but that is, you know, Nordic. That's what I meant. You know what.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, definitely. So, I mean, I've been in the last 3 years, when I've been, you know, trying to get back on my feet and thinking about what to do when I grow up. One of my actual ideas has been, first of all, in my private life, I've been trying to add discomfort, in a way that I can. I try, consciously to add discomfort to my life, because I know that discomfort makes me feel better in the end. Because a comfortable life, I mean, I can't emphasize this enough. It fucking kills you. It kills your soul, and it kills you. It makes you depressed. And I mean, there are not only one way to become depressed. There are several ways to become depressed. One of the ways I became depressed was that I just went fucking balls out with everything I did and just crashed. And then you can become depressed of just a sense of total meaninglessness. So we need exposure to negative things in our life, to a certain limit, of course. It can't be a crushing defeat. I don't want anybody's wife to divorce them and their kids to get like leukemia or something. I don't want that. But some struggles you need to have. And one of the things I've been thinking on a macro level on my life is just to move to a country where I feel that there is this positive kind of vibe for the future, which means moving away from Northern Europe and, going somewhere else. Because that optimism, I was also doing some pro bono work in Kosovo. It was the same thing there. Yeah. So same thing, a fairly newly established country, part of a genocide only like 25 years ago, witnessed some fucking horrible things like in Europe. And just the feeling that they were progressing, the cafes were open, people were smiling. And it's like, this is what I want. I don't want this lazy, like complacent attitude towards life. It's like, it's like, no, fucking, give me some more, man.
No, that is true, man. Life is precious, brother. Life is precious. Learning how to live life is not an easy thing, though.
Probably never figuring that out.
Exactly. I think it's an eternal thing until the end of days, man, like trying to figure that out. But definitely you can get the right tools and the right guidance, whatever that works for, whatever that is for you, man. Like some people tend to have a therapist. Some people, I don't know, smoke weed. Whatever it is that you do, it doesn't harm you, doesn't bring any negative consequences to your life and to yourself. By all means, continue, right? I would say so.
Yep, totally agree. And one thing good to remember is that, very few people, like even in almost, like I have a lot of friends who are very affluent. They make great careers. They make a lot of money. But they're as confused as anyone else is. They're like, should I do this? And is this okay? And then I'm like, dude, you're making $1 million a year at least, so.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying when I do my speaker gigs, especially for young people, which I do quite a lot. I tell them that, look, even people my age who have it all are not especially satisfied with stuff, and they're also like pondering on the great scheme of things, like existential questions and stuff. And so I try to tell them that what you see is not what you get. You might get this understanding that these celebrities and all have it figured out, but they don't. Like, everybody's fucking super confused, and that was a shock for me, because I didn't realize how bad it was until I started talking about it 2 years ago. And when people started telling me, like, I'm confused and I'm confused and I'm confused, because when I told them I were confused, people started confiding in me, and I got this fucking reality check, and I was like, damn. And I remember this venture capital firm, one of their partners, I accidentally bumped into her, and I was like, hey, how's it going? And, working for a VC, like with big funds, you operate hundreds of millions and all this stuff. And we walked, and then she was like, well, to be honest, I have this fucking imposter syndrome, and I don't know really what to do. I'm like, do you have that? It's like, yeah.
Wow.
It was like, I feel kind of worthless, and I don't know really what my role here is. We're just investing in companies, and I don't know. I was like, damn. So I hear this from everywhere, and it's kind of fucking scary to hear people that you really think had figured it out and, you know, living good life and stuff, and they're just like scratching their heads and like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, that is true, man. Like a great example that I can say is my own family. My cousin, she lives in, if you see her and you see her life, she lives in a dream world, big fucking house, Olympic swimming pool in the house. You know, like the husband is one of the richest men of all the country. Between you and I think he's a narco. Nah, I'm just joking. he has insane amount of money. My point to this is that happiness is not in that home.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, man. They have everything, but happiness is not the thing that they have. No. And all these things that you mentioned, for example, to the teenagers, talk to the teenagers. I would like to do the same thing, but I would like to be more specific to the type of teenagers. This lately, you've been hearing that in Helsinki, there's been a lot of stabbings, right? By young people.
Yeah.
I would like to talk to those people for many reasons. But like one of the things that they have in their mind is like this gangster reputation is the coolest thing in the world. And the media shows you that if you stick to the game, you will end up being on top with money, girls, and everything. As an ex-gangster that I used to be, that is so far from reality.
Yeah, yeah.
That is so far from reality. And all the horrible things you need to do for this so-called brotherhood, absolute bullshit. And I guarantee you one thing, Tommy, these kids that are stabbing here, they have no cause at all what they're fighting for.
Yeah, yeah.
So they need that guidance. And I know I heard that the government is like putting some funds for youth workers and this and that. That is perfect. But I think the most effective way is having a person with a similar background or similar struggle to them to talk to those people.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I couldn't, because I remember I was doing some like stuff when I was a teenager too, and fighting and all that crap. You know, honestly, if some fucking social worker comes to talk to you, you're like, who the fuck are you? Fuck off. But then when a person who's been hit in the face and who's been fucking kicking ass comes to tell you about things, you're like, I'm gonna listen to this person because, you know, they know what they're talking about. So yeah, I totally agree. And this is what we should have. We should have like people who knows how it feels to get their fucking face kicked in, and you know, and like I know, because it's with everything. You need relatability with these kind of stuff. And so I applaud if you get into this. I will see what I can do.
Hey, I would love to. I would love to, man. You know, I definitely want to put into use my past and what I have learned and how I have overcome it. You know, I would like to contribute to that part of society in one way or another. You know, guidance is something that as a young person I always missed. Yeah. So if I could give a guidance to someone, by all means, because the guidance is needed, man. Guidance, patience, acceptance is needed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it for quite a while, actually, starting some kind of fund or for youth that would hand out, you know, some kind of scholarships or something that help them to get off that crap. But it needs to be set up with people who have street cred. You know, I don't want, you know, some suit guys do that. I want people who like really want to help and know how it is to wake up like born in a ghetto and you know how it's like, you know. So
well, Mr. Kaukinen, I would Say, let's do it, man. First things first, for you to know, read that article I sent you, man.
I thought I read it, man.
What was it about?
I don't remember.
I'm gonna put you on the spot right here, right now.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I know I clicked on that link, man. It was Vantaan Sanomat or something. Am I right?
Helsinki Sanomat.
It was Helsinki Sanomat. Okay, then I probably did not. I'm really sorry. Wait, let me see. There we go. Maybe it was closed.
Yeah. Hey, I know you're busy, so you have a lot in your mind, so I'm gonna let this slide.
Yeah. Sorry to the audience. I got
I'm gonna put you on the spot one more time.
Okay.
Because I have to let you go. I want to ask you something. I take this entrepreneurship like fighting in a way. It's a combat, right? It's a fight. You, with the experience that you have going through depression, 7 startups, 6 failed.
It actually, I think 3 companies, but a lot of products, but yeah.
Well, all that experience, man, that like an ordinary individual cannot achieve, you have achieved it. What would be your advice to the young fighters out there that just turned professional, want to quit?
Sorry, you faded away there. What was the last thing?
What would be your advice to the young fighters out there who just turned professional, but they're already tired? They want to quit.
Oof. That's hard, man. I would say, like, the first thing, like, recognize why you are tired. First of all, it's really difficult. Sometimes when I was working, I didn't understand if I was tired because I was just like had a temporary motivational problem, or if I was like exhausted. And it's a really hard thing to separate between these two. So I think the first thing would be just like trying to recognize, like, what kind of like tiredness do I have? Is it long-term, or is it just a little bump in my motivation? And that probably you will figure that out by actually, if you do the training and you don't feel that spark for longer than, I would say, like 2 or 3 weeks, and you don't get that spark, maybe a month, then you should seriously like consider taking at least a little bit of a break. But if you feel that spark coming in now and then probably it's just some short demotivational phase. Because when I was training for Ironman competitions, it was also hard to understand in the morning when I wake up to do my morning run, like, am I tired or am I like fucking tired? And usually when I did the round, I was like, yeah, awesome. And then I was back on track again. So I know how it is to work hard and train hard, because Ironman is not, super simple.
Ironman. First of all, like, congratulations on that, bro. Like, that's another thing that you have accomplished that no ordinary human being can accomplish.
Yeah, they can. It's just hard work. But yeah, so separate between that and that. And I have to say, one of the most difficult things is to let go for a while, because you end up in this weird limbo where you start questioning your whole kind of motivation to this sport or what you're doing. And you're like, if I let go, I might never come back. And that's how you start thinking like, maybe I can't. So you cling on to this fucking training because you're scared that you're going to lose a very big part of your life. And that's a very like common scare, and it's a valid scare, because if you work out several hours a day, it's kind of a big deal in your life. You do a lot of things around it, and you make sure you always get the training. And then all of a sudden, when you start suspecting that this integral part of my life is going to disappear, like, what the fuck am I going to fill that with? So it's kind of an existential crisis in a way. But what what I understood and learned was that it's only by like total detachment, like really fucking just letting it go, you will realize if you like it or not. Because the option is that you keep going and it's going to take you to some place you don't want to be, which is probably like burnout and depression. I have a friend who's an MMA guy. He was the amateur world champion, Aleksi Nurminen, and he pushed it. And he got really, really badly burnt out. And he hasn't been able to train for now 4 years, basically. So I know what the other side is. And you're going to end up there if you don't take the detachment. And you have to remember, like talking to fucking Conor McGregor here, when he fought like Max Holloway, he sprained his ACL. He torn his ACL in that fight. And he was gone for a year. Almost, I think. He was gone for a long time.
Yeah, he was gone for a long time, yes.
And then he came back and he fucking just kicked ass. So you will find out if it's your true love. Because if it's not your true love, you're going to find it out anyway. And it's going to hurt even more. So let go.
Let go. Detachment. That's interesting but very good advice. Yeah, man. Well, thank you, brother. I think we had a very interesting conversation. I hope.
Yeah, fucking girls and training.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But hey, read that article and get back to me for us to move forward on that project, man.
I will.
Thank you, Tomi. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Take care, brother.